The Houston Texans have had an amazing offseason and they look absolutely unfair. A couple of months ago, I made a video talking about how the Texans have a bright future, and you know what? They've had an insane free agency, made some insane trades, so you know what? It's time for another video. Because honestly, this Texan team right now looks absolutely unfair, and you know, it's time to talk about it because man, oh man, they have made some insane moves. And I think all of us can go ahead and agree Lovie Smith deserves a statue outside of the Texan Stadium for winning that game and going for it on that 4th and 20 play. Because if the Texans didn't score a touchdown right there, go ahead, you know, win the game, they would not have this insane team that they currently have. And honestly, they're looking like a top 3 team in the AFC right now. But before I get into it, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. It's very much appreciated. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers. We got to 2K very fast. So let's see how fast we can get to 3K. It's very much appreciated. Let me know in the comments how far you guys have the Texans going in the playoffs, the divisional round, AFC championship game, even the Super Bowl if you got them going there. Now we're going to get straight into the breakdown. Starting off, let's talk about all these insane offseason moves and all these smart offseason moves the Texans have made this year. So starting off, we're just going to talk about it. The insane trade that they made today. This video might not be out on the day that the trade happens, maybe the day after or 2 days after. But the Texans went ahead and made a blockbuster trade and traded for Stefon Diggs. I had to make sure none of my Twitter notifications, none of my people that I follow were trolling because this just came out of nowhere at 9 o'clock in the morning and it was a bombshell. And all the Texans gave up was a 2025 second round pick. The Texans received Diggs, a 2024 6th round pick, and a 2025 5th round pick. This is a very good deal for the Houston Texans, and I'm here to explain why. First off, I don't care what anyone says. I know that Stefon Diggs is kind of a drama queen in the offseason, you know, with the Buffalo Bills, all the complaining and all the cryptic tweets and stuff like that. And I all know last year in that divisional round, he had a bad game, a very bad game with a lot of drop passes and not a lot of catches whatsoever. This is a great deal for the Texans. Diggs is still a top receiver in the NFL, top 7, top 6, top 5, wherever you have him in your list. He's still a top guy in the NFL. Last year he had 107 catches, 1,183 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He's still a dog. He can still get open and make elite plays. So you know what? Him and CJ Stroud in this Texan offense next year is going to be absolutely insane. And I really think the Texans are trying to make a huge now on the win now emphasis by trading for a guy like Stefon Diggs, because you know what? I guarantee you that Texan team is trying to make the Super Bowl, and I feel like they are really going to try to push to make the Super Bowl next year. He also went ahead and signed former Bengals running back Joe Mixion. They went ahead and gave him a 3-year, $27 million contract extension, which honestly, he was with Cincinnati for 7 years. He had a lot of great years in Cincinnati, and I truly believe he's going to also be a great running back. In Houston, you know, try to take the load off of CJ Stroud, so CJ Stroud, you know, isn't throwing the ball 60 times a game, even though he's really good at throwing the ball. Joe Mixon last year had 9 rushing touchdowns and 1,034 rushing yards, so like I said, he still has it in him. He's still probably going to get around that 800 yard to 1,000 yard mark, depending how much the Texans run the ball next year. We saw what Devin Singletary could do in this offense last year, so Joe Mixon is also going to be a great thing to have in this offense. Also, the Texans went ahead and added to the defense this offseason. They went ahead and signed former defensive end from Minnesota, Danielle Hunter. Went ahead and gave him a 2-year, $49 million deal. Basically, they just swapped Jonathan Greenard with Danielle Hunter, which honestly isn't a bad move, I guess, because Danielle Hunter, well, he's a great defensive end, and he was a great defensive end in Minnesota. Danielle Hunter last year had 16.5 sacks for the Minnesota Vikings. I would say that's pretty dang good. And pairing Danielle Hunter with Will Anderson, this defense is going to be absolutely nasty next year. Having Will Anderson on one end and Danielle Hunter on the other end, it's just going to be sack city in the city of Houston. There's going to be a ton of sacks that this Texan team is going to get, and this defensive line is going to be very good. I'm very excited to see what D'Amico Ryans does with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson on their defensive line. We also went ahead and signed defensive tackle Danico Artery, cornerback Jeff Okuda, another cornerback in CJ Henderson, defensive tackle Tim Settle, another defensive tackle, and Foley Fatowski. If I said the name wrong, I apologize, and the former Chiefs punter Tommy Townsend. But yeah, those were all the moves that the Texans have made this offseason. Of course, the big 3 moves being Danielle Hunter, Stefon Diggs, and Joe Mixon. But now it's time to talk about the guys that were already there, the guys that won a playoff game last year, and the guys that helped win a division. Starting off, we got to talk about the leader of this team, quarterback CJ Stroud. I do not care what anybody says, CJ Stroud will be taking home the MVP award next year. It should just be a very obvious thing. It's going to happen. I'm telling you guys right now, it's happening. CJ Stroud last year, of course, as you guys should know, he went ahead and won the Rookie of the Year award. His completion percentage was 63.9. He threw for 4,108 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. And for me personally, he's already a top 5 quarterback and an elite quarterback in the NFL. I watched this man in his first playoff game ever receiver go against one of the best defenses in the NFL last year, and he absolutely just torched them. Like, no hesitation whatsoever, just destroyed them. Honestly, with this trio of offensive weapons that he has, the new wide receiver, the new running back, I could see Stroud throwing for like 5,000 yards next year, 40 touchdowns, and like 8 interceptions because he doesn't turn over the ball. Would I be surprised? Absolutely not. Wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. We don't even know what Stroud's ceiling is. If he did all that in his rookie year, who knows? Like, who truly knows what his ceiling is gonna be? But yeah, if you want to go ahead and pick a guy to win MVP next year, select CJ Stroud, please. I might have said it like an unrealistic prediction with 5,000 yards, but hey, CJ Stroud, he's built different. Let's go ahead and talk about those two wide receivers that Stroud had last year, being Nico Collins and Tank Dell, because those guys are also huge dogs. Last year, Nico Collins had 80 receptions, 1,297 yards, and 8 touchdowns. If you picked him up late in your fantasy football drafts, you pretty much, got a huge win, because Nico Collins was a huge guy that had an insane breakout season last year. And they also have Tank Dell, another guy that could actually probably be a wide receiver one in this offense. He was very explosive last year. Sadly, his season got cut short due to an ankle fracture, but he's going to be back next year. The Texans legitimately have 3 wide receiver ones next year. This offense is just going to be absolutely ridiculous with the passing attack. I genuinely do not know how teams are going to be able to cover this offense. Covering Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell, this sounds like it's going to be a tough task for teams to figure out, because it's not going to be easy out here for sure. And they also got a solid tight end in Dalton Schultz that I definitely should mention. He had some great yards, some great touchdowns, some great plays. He's another offensive weapon that teams are going to have to cover. And their offensive coordinator that could have went ahead and, got a job to become a head coach, he stayed. Yeah, he stayed in Houston. So yeah, all the CJ Stroud plays and all that stuff, that's going to stay in Houston. So this offense is really going to be ridiculous next year. And then you got the defense coached by DeMeco Ryan. Remember when I was talking about Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson? Yeah, they have that on their defense. An insane defensive end room that it's going to be elite next year. Also, they have a great guy in Derek Stingley Jr. that is also really good at the cornerback position. They also have a great free safety in Jalen Petrie, and they also have Jeff Okudah, who actually wasn't even bad last year. He was actually pretty good. And then of course they have guys like Desmond King, Christian Harrison, the guys that I mentioned earlier that they went ahead and signed. I truly do not know how NFL teams are going to be able to stop this Texan team. The offense is amazing. The defense is great. They're going to be a powerhouse in the AFC. In my opinion, they're the second best team in the AFC. This is going to be absolutely insane what we're about to see from the Texans in these next couple of years. But I think we can all agree that the Texans have had, the perfect rebuild. They went ahead and drafted their franchise quarterback that's already playing at an elite level in CJ Stroud. They traded up and selected their defensive cornerstone in Will Anderson. They also drafted Derek Stingley, Tank Dell, a whole bunch of elite guys. And they also went ahead and signed a head coach that was amazing in his first year, being DeMeco Ryan. And after winning a playoff game, they went ahead and signed a ton of key players. And now this Houston Texan team, they're honestly a Super Bowl contender in the span of 2 years. The Texans were once one of the laughing stocks in the NFL after Deshaun Watson left, and now look at them. They're a Super Bowl contender just like that. This is the definition of a perfect rebuild, ladies and gentlemen. I don't really know if you can get even better than this whatsoever, because honestly, what the Houston Texans have done, it's been absolutely perfect, no doubt. And I truly believe that the Texans will be going to the AFC Championship game next year. I don't know if it's going to be against the Chiefs, even though I think it probably will be. The Ravens. Texans are going to the AFC Championship game next year, and they might go ahead and go to the Super Bowl. Who knows? But all I'm going to tell you guys right now, do not be surprised about the Houston Texans whatsoever. They are here, and they're going to be playing some amazing football. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe. It's very much appreciated. Watch this video right here of me breaking down what the Philadelphia Eagles have done in free agency. They've made a ton of great moves. Or watch this video right here that YouTube went ahead and recommended to you. And that's going to be it for the video, guys. So I will see you guys in the next video that should be coming out very, very shortly.